Well, that's nightmare fuel.
You should have seen the progress pictures as she was putting it together. It just got better and then it got worse.
I mean, I'm not trying to decry. I'm not trying to decry Grimm's talent, but that right there is nightmare fuel.
It has nipples.
It does.
I think that because she had to do it in parts. She had to do it in pieces and then assemble the pieces. So there's like seams and such in places.
Those aren't seams.
Oh, all right.
Those are deliberate.
Oh, yeah, I guess so, huh?
And the belly button.
And the belly button.
Does it even have a belly button?
Apparently,
okay, Seraphis, turn it around. We all have to know.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. That's pretty wicked cool.
I see what you did there.
Well, I mean, I like horror stuff, so I mean, you know, that's right up my alley.
Sure.
It gets a thumbs up from me.
Woohoo. It's I still like her Kraken. I think her Kraken is actually my favorite.
The Kraken was pretty good.
She made a new one, by the way.
Another one?
Mm-hmm.
Another Kraken?
Did she take another Kraken at it?
Indeed.
I see what you did there.
I'm working too much, I think.
So Seraphis is Grim gonna make you one of those squid robes?
Oh yeah, that we were looking at.
Not at the moment.
Man, that would just be
that would be the best.
Wicked cool. I mean, I would totally sit there and just watch like Netflix all day long, just wearing that. And live stream it. You know, people would tune in just to watch somebody sitting on a couch wearing that.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh, jeez, I've been invaded again.
The Mercury.
The Mercury. Hey, come here.
Is it an invasion when you invited them in the first place?
Oh, no. I was just trying to get her to come from one corner of the desk over to this part of the desk. She jumped up on Steve's chair and then jumped up on my lap, and I had pretty much no say. Met her.
Did I really forget to do that?
I'm going to go with
Seraphis knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, I think I just caught on.
I did not.
First, they're talking about who types first in chat. Okay, can I set my work back down, Kat? Are you good?
We're childish.
Childish.
Oh, and you're lucky I can't log into YouTube on this computer.
Isn't that the computer you use to do your videos, though?
No.
Oh.
No, I have two computers. I have two computers. I've got one that I use to edit and then one that I use to live stream.
Why
just got the one
computers?
Because the main computer is the beefy computer that has the good graphics card that can handle like editing videos and stuff.
Yep.
And it's in the dining room, living room. And if I'm in there live streaming, then everybody's walking through, you know, the kids are walking through, the dog is tippy-tappying with her long toenails across the hardwood floor. And yeah. And, so anybody that wants to go fix some breakfast or whatever, y'all get to see all that in the background. And I'm not sophisticated enough to figure out how to do what Seraphis and Brian, what y'all do with the background. I can't figure out how to do that. So I just, where I record my videos, I use a cell phone and just throw that up onto my tripod and film myself, and then I take that and attach it to the computer in the other room and edit it.
I was not expecting to know that your videos were done on your phone.
Yep.
I mean, I realize you're editing in post, but like the base recording, that's a really good phone.
Yeah, it's a Samsung S22 Ultra Pro.
FYI, Brian,
all
of my camera stuff is with my phone.
Yeah.
Not like, remember when I tried that webcam? Notice how much different? This is not a webcam. This is a phone.
That's fair.
And I figured out when you mentioned about the focal range, I think I figured out the problem is that those webcams are designed to sit like a couple of inches away from whatever they're supposed to be filming. Like the focal range I had it at, it was too close. Because it does fine if I pull it back.
Well, no, it's supposed to be like a couple feet. Like mine, so right there, that's about arm's length from, just a little bit more.
Yeah. And I had it like...
Yeah, like 6 inches away.
Yeah, like a hand, like, I can't do it because it's too close. But you know what I mean? Yeah, I had it like a hand width.
I mean, this is kind of fun.
But no, this is my phone. All of the all of the on-camera stuff that I did before I went back to the stick videos, that's all a phone. All of the on-camera stitching videos that are like from before DC20, those are all on my phone. Like my phone is everything, and people make jokes about it. Like, oh, back when, like Dungeon Coach made a comment, like, well, back when I started my channel, and all I had was a phone and a tripod, and I'm like, shit, dude, that's all you need. The cameras on phones is incredible.
Yeah,
that's true. I wasn't expecting to hear that Brian was all on phone.
Yeah, and so the whole reason why I'll share my. Seraphis, this is an exclusive secret here. Ooh. The whole reason that I do is because I have an app on my phone. Yeah, like you can actually see that, right? Called Elegant Teleprompter.
Ah.
See how awesome that is? There we go. And so I have all of my scripts, and I can select one. I hate technology. To close it out so that I can open it up. I don't want to.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, you have you use your phone as camera and teleprompter.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
That's more impressive because that means he's using the front-facing camera, not even the good camera on the back.
Right.
Yeah, I use the camera on the back. I never even thought of trying to do like a teleprompter type deal.
It's like that right there, or landscape. However, I end up doing it, and it scrolls through.
2, 3, 4, 5.
As I read and. Makes things super, super easy.
Sure.
A lot of times I'll go off script, but that's usually when I have all my bloopers and screw ups. But
yeah. I have a new production method going into the next stick video, so I'm curious to see how it goes. It'll be nice. Because having the script in front of you is kind of like what I would do is I would film like at my desk and I would have my script up just like in Google Docs or whatever. And I would just use the control zoom to zoom all the way in. So the text was like a zillion pixels big. And then like I would have off camera on my lap, I'd have my mouse wheel just scrolling. Like it's so low key. Oh goodness, what is Goth saying over there?
Apparently, what makes a good politician is good teleprompter skills.
I mean,
and not needing necromancers.
And not needing necromancers.
yeah.
Look, Chicago has some really good necromancers.
So does Batman.
Yeah, but aren't most of those villains?
Doesn't matter.
We use. I mean, you said the word politician. Enough said. They're in the same class, aren't they? You've got on the Animal Kingdom organization chart, you have politician, and then right over in the same genus, you have villain. That's how that works, right?
Except
That's
for your
Batman.
guy.
We'll see. And then right next to that, you have politician, you have villain, and then you have big tech. Right next to that.
I don't know. I mean, Zuckerberg seems like a big right winger.
Yeah, magically, all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere.
Well, he's seeing what Elon Musk is getting away with, and he's figuring, well, shit, I need to get in on that.
Dude, every tech company has been doing that since he bought Twitter.
Yeah.
And I say that just because, and that's not even anything to do with politics. It's like, oh, he bought Twitter. He fired 80% of the staff. Wait a second. It's getting better. Cool. We're going to start doing that. And all of the companies, layoffs.
I mean, there is such a thing as too many employees, too many cooks in the kitchen, as the saying goes.
I don't disagree, but it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, and actually, video game companies have been doing this for a minute, too. Wow.
But that's different. That's like businesses not making money and laying people off.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. You're right. I didn't. Yeah, you're right. The coffee's still kicking in. I blame the lack of coffee.
Apple and Facebook and Google are still rolling in buckets of money.
Steve tried to do something nice. He thought he was doing something nice for the house. He bought half calf coffee.
No.
Yep. That's what I have. Half calf coffee.
That's like the 0.0 alcohol Heineken. What's the point?
Yeah. 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 I mean, because he can't drink coffee. He's
Don't drink coffee, drink milk.
I told him tea, but because
Has he heard of Milo before?
Well,
Milo.
Yeah.
Get yourself some, like a tin, like a 1 kilo tin of Australian Milo. There. He'll be awake in the morning and he doesn't have to have coffee.
yeah, I told him to drink tea. He should drink tea.
I'm still stuck on what Milo is.
I have no idea, but let's see.
Is it made out of barley?
So imagine a mixture of cocoa and malt.
Yeah, it's like what Goth said. It's kind of like Ovaltine.
But
Okay.
much more tasty.
Yeah.
I had Ovaltine once when I was a kid. It was disgusting.
No, the Milo it's actually not bad at all. I've had it. It's not bad.
I've grown up eating it from the tin.
I can see that. I can see that.
I do that.
I
with
have
Nestle Quick.
sprinkled it on ice cream before.
Oh, Milo and ice cream. Oh, the freezer gets too packed, so I haven't been buying ice cream tubs lately. But oh man, that is
What's the answer for someone whose guts explode when they have milk or too much caffeine? Medical professionals. That would be my recommendation. Or if we're talking drink substitutes,
Drink water.
3, 4.
I was to say yes. Water. Water's a nice neutral.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, Milo is actually produced by Nestle, by the way.
it is.
I put hot cocoa in my coffee instead of creamer, so I could
Yep.
sort of see something like that.
Wait, so is Milo, if it's made by Nestle, is Milo just another version of Nestle Quick?
No,
No.
it
Okay.
has a completely different texture, taste, all that.
2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
I don't know if I don't know. My grandpa always drank Postum, which is like a barley substitute for coffee. So it has like I don't know. It's like in Brazil they had something similar called cevada. I don't know. Maybe it's chicory because grumpy old Slan keeps driving that one, but. I thought it was made out of barley.
Also, hello, Yog. How you doing?
Peachy.
I love peaches. You know what's better than peaches though? Nectarines.
I don't know. There's millions of peaches.
Peaches for me.
Thank you, Seraphis.
I'm old enough to get that.
I feel like I missed something there.
Still trying to determine if Brian got it.
I didn't even hear it. I'm sorry. Say it again.
I said millions of peaches.
Peaches for free?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already in the country, so.
Wait. So did you move to the country
To eat
to
a lot
eat
of
a lot of
peaches?
peaches?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we broke her.
That band is so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. It's-
Okay, 1, 2.
like if you look at like the album liner for their original album, like apparently one guy played the 3-stringed git bass, the other guy played the 2-string bass guitar, and the third guy played the no-string drums. That's literally how it's listed in the album liner.
Okay, let's.
Exactly, Yog.
You know, they were put
So
there
does
by
Dr.
a man in a factory downtown.
Okay, so 1, 2, 1.
I think Tori's just ignoring us now.
A little bit. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go. I have to get 7 hours of stitching in today. So it doesn't matter where I do it as long as it's an accumulated 7 hours.
Why do you need 7 hours of stitching?
Because that's part of the challenge.
What is the challenge?
the January challenge.
Like,
I have to get 24 hours of stitching across 1 week.
Oh,
Oh, I messed that up. I can't do that. That's too.
that's
Let's
not that hard.
Oh,
But you're
no,
behind.
no. I'm just starting today, so the week starts today. So for me, today's Sunday. So I'm doing Sunday through Saturday. The idea stems from the 24-hour stitch-a-thon thingy that they do 4 times a year, but that one is 24 hours in 3 days.
Right, so you just have to do a little more than 3 hours a day.
Yep, but I also work, so and I like go to bed early because I have to get up early.
Always
And
with the excuses, Tori.
And edit and record and everything. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay, maybe I don't do that color next. I have to start somewhere like in here. But this is repaired. You can't see it on camera, but this is repaired fabric, which means the count is off. So I'm sitting here struggling, like, how do I make sure I don't mess up?
Go very carefully.
That's what my dad used to always say.
Anyways, you should go look up the presidents of the United States of America on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you want to listen to music on.
Is that the AI one where they do things like play Call of Cthulhu and Dragon Age? And
No.
Okay. Although I do like that. That's funny as heck.
No, this is a band from the
90s.
2000s.
Mid 90s.
2000s. Yeah.
Well, that particular song was the first album, which would have been 94, maybe 95.
Okay. My sister would have been born. My sister would have just been born.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, so who all wants to feel really old?
I already do after Tori's comment just now.
My hip has been buggered for the last week because I slept on it wrong a week ago. I already feel old.
Well, this will make you feel older.
Okay.
Folks that were born in 2004 are 21 this year and can legally drink in the United States.
The books?
Folks.
No.
Oh,
folks. People.
Got it. I thought I heard books for some reason.
Well, I mean, books can drink at any age, really.
That's true.
Well, 4 years ago, those same people would have been able to legally drink in Australia. So,
well, if it was a real place, sure.
And you're
At least once per conversation between Seraphis and I. That
we got there's like a tic-tac-toe bingo card. There's a bingo card of things to say to Seraphis. There's Australia isn't real. There's something about more kids. We're just gonna start filling in the bingo card.
Yeah, but the Australia isn't real that's kind of just like the free space. It's gonna happen. You just don't know when.
Ah, that's fair.
Listen, I ain't gonna make fun of Seraphis or Australia because I have much respect for that area. I mean, anything that can be completely surrounded by sharks, holy shit! I mean, and everything there is out to kill them. I mean, from the spiders to the birds to everything. I mean, what foods do you guys have to avoid?
So, see my fingernail?
Yeah.
The 4th most deadliest spider in the world is that size and lives all over Australia.
That's insane.
So how do you keep them out of your house?
You try not to attract them.
Don't put the skirts on and leave the makeup off.
Even I was laughing at that one.
And Yog, I fully accept that because I can call you a dirty limey and pommy bastard. And, that's how our countries roll because we love the fact that you know, we get things over these Americans.
I suppose it would be like the equivalent of when Americans make fun of Americans from other states. You know?
Maybe. I mean, I like Australia. I don't know. I've always found it fascinating.
Look, sometimes a fairy tale is just so creative that you can't help but fall in love with it. It's like the Forgotten Realms of Earth.
Forgotten Realms. Sir, Australia is not nearly that charted.
Australia is not nearly that. No. As Bear would say, just the sword ghost.
Yeah.
Look, I know I'm not that funny. I'm just going to drive the jokes into the ground.
Oh.
The what?
I'm not going to explain that, but goths, no. Also, they're bunyips, not Sasquatch.
Oh boy!
Now I miss something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just
It's an
stitching away. Don't mind
It's an
me.
eternal torment with Goths and I, so it's all right.
No,
Oh, okay.
that's fine. I'm just admitting when I'm not in on the joke. Sometimes it gets explained. Sometimes it's like, maybe you should say it.
You have enough information to look that up on YouTube. So
That is a lot of work.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
No, it was funny last night. It's like I've done a stream every day. I mean, I'm just building the Cyberpunk Legos. But so I ended up working a shift Friday night that I wasn't planning on. And so went to bed Saturday morning. Woke up, like I've actually been sleeping great this week, which is fantastic. So it's going to last like another couple of days and then I'll be a disaster again. But woke up at like 3 and Kim's like, okay, let's go do all of these things. Get home, sit down for a couple of minutes, get logged in for another shift. Couple hours go by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't stream today. So I don't have a clue anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
But but it's just frustrating because I want my work table back.
Although I'm glad you let me know about that because I was thoroughly looking for a new video from you this morning because we woke up late. So I was like, oh man, I must have missed your video or something. I was looking around and I couldn't find a video from you. I'm like, oh, he didn't do a video.
I did not.
Yes, Yog, exactly. Our greatest joke. Or is it?
The Bogfoot?
No.
Drop bears.
No, I know. I'm finally catching up with chat after telling my story.
Ah. You can't multitask?
That's never a good thing for me. I mean, I do it, but then I just like fail to pay attention to anything. But yes, no, there's a bunch of fun stuff being suggested in chat.
Oh, so
I admit I'm not reading chat.
So, Gur, I have to point out, I was going through Rifts Australia,
Okay.
and my biggest problem with it, aside from the fact that it said that my hometown was a piece of shit and was wiped off the map, is the terminology section, glossary section.
So bad or good?
Bad.
No, okay. I mean,
Um,
it was written 20 years ago.
half of it is Australian slang that Americans would use. So not actually Australian slang. And the other half of it is stuff you guys use when you used to dub over Australian movies.
Okay.
Like Back of Beyond, that's not an Australian saying, but it's something you guys dubbed into The Road Warrior.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, the book's old. It's got some like a little bit of controversy in the Riffs community.
Probably for none of the reasons I just said.
Probably for none of the reasons you just said.
Do I want to know what the controversies are?
Oh, it's what, Tori?
I would say I do.
Nothing bad. I mean, mostly just like there was like so Kevin Simbita is known for because I've gotten to meet the guy a couple of times. He's super nice. But at least from a perspective of Palladium, he's very, very protective. Okay? Like half the time when you see like a book for Riffs or anything else where it's by Bob Jones and Kevin Simbita, okay, usually that means that he got a manuscript and rewrote half of it because he didn't like it or thought it could be better. Okay, or somebody came in with like ideas, like gave him a manuscript and he's like, "This is horrible, but we promised to get this book out." And I'm now inspired, and so he just rewrites a complete book. Okay. So I think Australia was supposed to have like 3 books, like total. There's like Legion of Myth covered it, I think last year, maybe the year before. And like I think there's a class in there where it's like, blah, 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 this is a bad thing. It'll get fixed by, you can deal with it with the rules found in Rifts Australia 2, The Dream Time. Then there was some sort of fight between Simbita and the author, and it's never come to light. So it's like, that's why I told you, the book is quote unquote incomplete.
Yeah, it's also like 1,000 pages, which is why I've only done like the first 70 odd so far.
Hey, you got through 70. That's better than we normally do.
Yeah, well, I've had a few days.
That's fair. I'm just saying. But did it at least give you some good ideas for the weird wild west of Australia?
I'm going to be polite about this. It didn't give me any new ideas, but it did reaffirm some existing ideas from Terra Australis, from Call of Cthulhu, and from Shadowrun Australia.
Okay.
Or at least...
Well, look, I haven't read any of the. To be honest with you, I haven't read any of the books.
Yeah.
I have the PDF for Australia. I haven't read it. I've like skimmed some of it.
Sorry, I should have completed my sentence there, but I saw Goth's comment and my brain broke because Americans using the word bogan is a pet peeve.
It's kind of a bogan thing to say. I don't know, that's all I could come up with.
Look, I'll let that slide only because you heard me say it and then said it correctly.
Oh, I was supposed to say boggin?
Or bugan, or... I swear to God, if you want to hear every wrong way to say it, go watch the Netflix series Pacific Rim The Black.
Okay.
I could not continue watching that series after the second episode, I think, because I was looking up something because I was like, what the hell are they saying? I can't, I don't understand. So I looked it up and I found it on the wiki and I started punching the wall because motherfuckers the what? And it got worse because I was like, okay, well, why didn't any of the cast correct them? Because none of the cast are Australian about this show set in Australia with Australian characters.
Wait. Are you saying that you can't see yourself in that show? That you're not represented?
It's not that I'm not represented. It's that these motherfuckers, these motherfucking Yanks, are so fucking lazy that they couldn't even get a single Australian in the goddamn show that's set in Australia, about Australia, and that we have actors too, you know. Hell, I wouldn't even give a flying fuck if you got New Zealand actors. At least they would have been able to.
Hold on. But do imaginary actors show up on film?
You've seen The Lord of the Rings. You know they do.
Come on! No, New Zealand is real.
That Miranda Otto is Australian.
I mean, call her what you want, I guess. I don't try. Should I see my...
I'm gonna go get more coffee. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get more pretend coffee. Oh.
More pretend.
Half calf. What am I? Half calf.
So just fix a cup, pour half of it out, and then pour more into the cup.
I don't think it works that way. I think she just needs to drink twice as much.
Well, or you could drink twice as much.
I don't think she's hearing us, but you know.
It's all right. Nobody ever hears me anyway, so
you should speak up more.
Exactly.
Well, I did say that I was getting up and leaving. My headphones are wireless, so I can hear you, but my mic is not, so I couldn't speak. But I can. Yes, I'm drinking twice as much. Oh, Galaxy's here. Oh, hello, Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy's here. I
wasn't reading the chat. I was, but I mean, look at all of I've accomplished down in here. That's like I'm feeling pretty happy.
Yes, compared to the rest of us, you are the most active and accomplished person here.
That's all at the Cow Cafe there, Goths.
Yeah. Anyways, so what have you come up with for weird Wild West Australia? Because I'll be honest, I was going to say I haven't, or did I say I haven't read any of the books?
You did.
I did say that.
Hmm.
I'm very tired.
So this is all for the whole trying to get game. Really? How did I just notice that now?
Huh. What? I like stopped and looked up at the screen. I'm like, what did I miss?
I missed something because I don't know who that is.
I
But
don't know. I wasn't looking at the screen, so it's like
no, it's Brian's, username.
Yeah.
It's been there for about 20 minutes.
Has it? How did I miss it for so long? Jesus Christ. I'm slipping.
Too self-centered? I don't know.
Oh no, I've got a good one for next time. Okay. Okay, so what I've come up with was, so this is all for game masters to run a cipher game for him and other people who would like to join. And Ger or George gave me the
I mean, I'm assuming that's who. I'm assuming that Tony Clifton's some kind of Aussie.
No, Tony Clifton is a comedian.
Oh,
Andy Kaufman.
oh, that Tony.
Zamuda.
Is he that Tony?
I'm listening
Wait a
to you,
minute.
Seraphis.
no, that my concentration and brain is breaking. So it's all meant to be for running a game for you and for whoever else wants to have a play of the cipher system and whatever, right? Learn the system, that kind of shit. Hold on, maybe. So that guy, that guy.
me.
Yes, suggested that I should do something with like a weird West Australia, and gave a
Well,
pretty
hold up,
convincing reason why.
Let's back up. It wasn't that I suggested, oh, this is what you should do. I didn't just throw it out, say, yes, you have to do weird Wild West Australia. We were making the argument, and actually, Brian was not here last week, so let's get his input on this.
Okay,
All right. Do you want to ask the question, or do you want me to do it?
Tony, if you were going to be in a cipher game to learn as much of the mechanics and stuff as possible, what would you like to play? What kind of theme or genre would you like to play?
Doesn't matter. DM's choice. I just would like to play.
All right. I'm going to ask it the way that Seraphis should have asked it, because that's the way that we were discussing it last week. If you were going to introduce someone to a new system, okay, so not D&D, that you're, just something brand, actually it could even be D&D, but we'll say brand new to that person. Would you run them through a setting or a game type that they're already familiar with? Okay.
Well, if it's new to them, then they're not going to be familiar with any of it. So,
well, no, new to them. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean they're new to role playing. Just like, hey, I want to introduce, like you're familiar with D&D, or say that they were familiar with Shadowrun or something, like some other game system. If you were going to introduce them to the Cypher system or the D6 system or whatever, would you introduce them to the new system using a setting or a theme that they're already familiar with? Or would you give them something new?
I'd give them something new.
Okay. Why?
Because if it's a new system, a new game, they need to be challenged. I want them to think outside the box. I want them to do something different. I want to do something different. Otherwise, we'd be playing D&D or whatever system that they're already familiar with.
So you're saying that the setting. So, like, if I'm switching from D&D to Cypher System, right? Because I'm familiar with D&D, but not familiar with Cypher System. You're saying that you think the right way to do it is to put them in a whole new setting type situation, or if they're familiar with fantasy, not necessarily like Forgotten Realms or a specific setting, but just swords and sorcery type stuff, that you would not run those players through a fantasy Cypher System game.
Oh,
You're
no. I
saying
mean, that's possible. I mean, but I mean, that's also a super difficult question for me to answer because, I mean, I've played everything out there. I mean, I've played sci-fi, I've played vampires, I've played fantasy, I've played, steampunk, I've played, Western, I've played, I mean, you name it, I've played it. So that's kind of difficult for me to answer it. But if I were to take somebody new, I'm not going to necessarily know what they have played in the past. I'll say, I'll likely just ask them straight up, what kind of game do you want to play? Not necessarily what game. I wouldn't necessarily approach it as, this is what I'm going to do.
Now, everything that you listed there are all really settings as opposed to the game system. Genres, yeah. So you've played all of those genres, but you're not familiar with Cypher System.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Well, it's like the Unreal Engine, right, for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first Mass Effect was built using the Unreal Engine, I'm pretty sure it was. But like, the third game was using, was it the Cryo? No. Frostbite. No, that was Andromeda.
Frostbite.
Yeah.
Frostbite was Inquisition too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. But yeah, it's the engine. It's not. But yeah, that's a good example. It's the engine. It's not what the setting is.
And so the real question is, if you're trying to teach a player just a new system, that was your whole main goal, and said person, do you keep them in a setting that's familiar to them so that they can spend more time focusing on learning the system, or do you plonk them in a whole new setting along with a whole new system?
I think for me, it would be let's just jump in, system aside, because just by playing the game, you're going to learn the system. I guess it would be different if I was trying to teach somebody how to run the system. That might be a little bit different, but just to play it, I don't think I'd concentrate too terribly much on teaching them said system. I would just concentrate more on just having fun and playing the game.
Yeah, and actually you brought up some interesting points that I hadn't considered when we were speaking last week, in that, hey, we're moving to a new system, but if you're playing fantasy, they're probably going to keep doing the same kind of tropes.
Right.
Oh, I'm the fighter class. I'm going to run up and hit things, Right,
I'm going to swing my sword until it's dead.
Right. Whereas in like a Star Wars game, your fighter type usually has ranged weapons. So
although in that I'm just going to pull out my blaster and shoot it until it's dead.
Well, sure, but that's the thing. But I use that as an example mostly because I wasn't thinking that creatively. But it is still something where, okay, your primary fighter type in a fantasy game is big sword, run up, whack things. Primary fighter in a sci-fi or modern setting is actually a ranged type. I'm going to pull out my gun. I'm 100 yards away, and I'm going to
Yeah.
take shots at it. So right there, you are making them have to rethink how they do their basic actions, and then that helps you get in and talk about, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to run oh, you want to make that shot? Well, you're going to need to take this skill, and roll these dice. You want to find this, this thing. Well, you're going to have to take those or roll this dice and beat this target, whatever it is. But yeah, I like that point about making your players think differently when introducing them to a new system. So
Now, question.
Just
What
quickly,
about... Oh, yeah.
Galaxy? Yeah, you always tell your players that you're playing a new system.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
you-
difficult for them to not know that you're playing a new system when they break out the character sheet and it's like,
What is this?
What are you going to say, Tori?
Well, I was going to say, now is a difference there when you're playing a new system versus when you're trying to sell them on a new system. Do you think that there's a difference there with oh no, we're just going to play this new system?
I think regardless, the point would be you want everyone to have fun.
Well, I mean, ultimately, yeah. But are you trying to convince them to move to this new system on a more permanent basis or a more continuous basis? Or
I think it's subjective. I mean, and that's I mean, I'll chime in. That's kind of how I'm approaching, for example, my YouTube channel. I'm not having fun as much anymore playing 5th edition. Partly because of the mechanics of it, but also too because of the company behind the product. I'm still addressing and doing 5th edition videos, but I'm having more fun playing games like Dragonbane and pretty much anything that Free League puts out. But I don't make a lot of content for that for YouTube because I'm not trying, because that's not what my customer base is. Customer base being the viewers. Now, that's not to say that I couldn't slowly pepper in elements of Dragonbane or Free League or Cypher Systems or anything else for that matter into my channel, and over time morph it into something else, which is honestly what the goal is. But likewise with players, I don't know that you could get away with, like I've got one group, they'll play anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. They'll play Monopoly, they'll play, any role-playing game out there. It doesn't matter. They'll play it. I've got another group that only wants to play Dungeons and Dragons. Now, they don't care which edition, but that's, I mean, we just got finished killing Vecna. And in that, I kind of teased that, Vecna, the Eve of Ruin storyline was he wanted to do this ritual of unmaking. And in my version of it, he literally unmakes everything and reverts everything back to the 1st edition version of the game. And that's what we're doing. We're now going back to the very 1st edition, and we're going to work our way through every other edition that's come out. They're thrilled with that. They don't want to play Dragonbane. They don't want to play Cypher System. They don't want to play any other game other than D&D because that's what they've invested in. So that's where it makes it kind of difficult. I don't think that you could. I mean, I'll backtrack a little bit. If the player base is there, yes, I think you could shift systems. And I mean, of course, with online, I think everybody, you have access to a lot of different people that would be willing to play different systems. In person, it's a little bit more difficult because I mean, we're all, introverts, and, what do? Do you just, take out an ad in the newspaper? Hey, I'm looking for players. Or, do you tack up a sheet, with little tear off slips of paper on it that says, hey, we're playing games. Come check us out. Whatever. I mean, it's a little more difficult to find real in-person players, but that's my style of play, is in person. I don't like doing online stuff. I'm happy to try it again, but for me to run a game, I just would prefer to do it in person.
Yeah, I used to. I'm with you, Game Masters. I mean, I've changed my mind since, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, because that's the way that I felt for a long time about the in-person part of that, not wanting to do online.
All right, I'm just going to jump to some comments. So Slan asked, Slan put, I believe Galaxy Fox is asking if you should give the players all the rules of a new system versus introducing them as they are needed. For Cypher, I would probably chat with them while they use the online tool to create their character, and then do the first session as a story, but also as a way to introduce them to the rules and the system as we're playing, because Cypher kind of facilitates that kind of play. What's your takes?
I would never. Okay. Lack of experience guy here, but whatever. Were it up to me, I wouldn't force them to read the rules before we played. However, I'm never going to tell a player not to read the rules if they volunteer to do it. But let's be honest, most role-playing games, the rules aren't that complicated to at least get started and start teaching people the basics. Oh, you want to do an action? Just tell me what you want to do. And then I'll tell you what you need to do, what dice you need to roll, what skills you put together. Nothing wrong with that, especially in the first couple of sessions. If it's turning into a long time thing and the players aren't reading the books, that's a completely separate issue.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that's exactly how I approach it as well.
Tori?
I
was hoping you'd say it better than me, but okay.
No, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah, I've been setting up for there's Steve's folks who don't play TTRPGs, who aren't really familiar with it, all of that stuff. So I had this plan where I was going to teach them DC 20. And so I had this whole little like kind of tutorial style adventure set up. And I planned it, but then like it got canceled. Like they're sick. They didn't want to come, all this stuff. So now it's probably going to happen around my birthday. But I think that my style for introducing new players to it, because I've introduced 3 people to DC 20 who have only ever played 5th edition. I taught those same 3 people how to play 5th edition in the first place. I introduced my sister to DC 20 who have never played 5th edition but played 3.5. And each time, and more before that, who've never played D&D before at all. So every time I introduce someone new to the hobby, my main technique is not to go into a ton of detail, not to really tell them a whole lot other than like, okay, you're playing somebody and you're going to go on adventures. Like I just keep it really, really vague. And I point people and my brain's getting ahead of myself. A good way, a better, more articulate version of what I'm trying to say was said by the channel How to Be a Great GM like 6 years ago when he did his video how to introduce players to the hobby. That video, if I could just like take that video and insert it here for my answer, it would be that. It's like you sit down at a table, they don't even have character sheets, they don't have dice, and you're like, and you just look at them and you just say like, okay, you're walking across a bridge, you've been told you've got to go get the missing wizard from the castle on the hill, but you've got to get to the castle. You say something like that, and then they might respond with like, like, can I be wearing I'm a wizard, can I wear a cool pointy hat? Yes, you can wear cool, because they're going to ask silly things like that. And you let them get into the character and you let them get into the world by asking silly things like that and worrying about what hat they're wearing and if they're carrying a staff and if they look like Gandalf, because when they do that, they grow attached to the character. And then I say introduce all of that long before AC and HP and dice rolls and such, because I think that is more important to the hobby than the character sheets, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's yes. There we go.
Okay, now to catch
Sorry.
up with where chat is at the moment. Goths. All right, honest takes from everybody. What do you think of the X card? Obliging a DM to cater to the most emotionally fragile of players, regardless of other players or DM.
If I won't do it in my house, I'm not doing it at the table.
So you have sex in your house, you're going to have sex at the table?
Hey, you know what? That's what it takes. No. No, I mean, okay, that's fair. I was a little overbroad with that. But it's like I've said this before, and I'll continue to keep this position. At any table that I'm going to be a part of, and that I like, even like whether I'm running or whether I'm a player, I don't want the table higher than like a PG-13 rating. Okay, if that means that I get up and leave the table, I'm going to get up and leave the table. Okay, if I'm running and you try and start pushing it farther than that, no, we're not going to do that. But you know what? I'm also like, as a game master, it's my job to run the game. You don't like spiders? Guess what? Get over it. There might be spiders in the game. If I'm running, Lair of the Spider Queen, I'm not going to rewrite it because you have a problem with spiders. Sorry. This is the one that I want to do. I think, like, here's the thing. You're not going to get me speaking in favor of any quote unquote any of the safety tools, because I think they're dumb. I don't see why we need, things that were designed for adult-oriented activities in role-playing. And I'm not gonna use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think it's very game dependent. I think for probably 75% of the games I run, I'll be like Gur there, and it's going to be set with a cap of a PG-13. But the moment I jump into, say, for example, Vampire the Masquerade, that's going to be an R-rated game. Call of Cthulhu, that's going to be an R-rated game. I think that I'm not a fan of X cards or safety tools either. I think that the players need to know what they're getting into. If you've got somebody that's, I don't know, deathly scared of, wiggling snake things, Call of Cthulhu is probably not the game for them to play.
We have a name for those in Australia.
What's that?
The wiggling death things.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I think in a game like Vampire the Masquerade, I mean that easily could devolve into a very sexual oriented game, but that's still a subject that I try to avoid personally, because I it's sex and vampires do go hand in hand. They always have. That's kind of a trope for that. But I'm there to run a game, not to fulfill somebody's bizarre, fucked up fantasy. If that's what they want, they can go surf online and get their rocks off that way. That's not the theme of the game that I try to run. But that's not to say that that wouldn't come up at some point. But again, I think that players need to know what kind of game it is that they're getting into. Now, likewise, if I'm running a D&D game or any other fantasy game, sorcery game like that, yeah, I'm going to stick to PG-13. But again, if I'm running a game that has spiders in it or snakes in it or whatever, that's what's in the game. I mean, I have a phobia of spiders, but I can talk about them. I can see pictures of them. I don't know. I think that takes it a little too far. Having an X card that says, no, I can't talk about spiders. Well, you just did. You just brought it up.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Everything that I feel about this can be articulately and wonderfully summarized by the video that We Love TTRPGs made. Like straight up, pretty much everything he's, because here's the thing. What he talks about in that video goes far beyond X cards good or safety tools good, safety tools bad. There's a lot more to it than that. For example, there's the fact that when modern day players and modern day people say safety tools, they're referring to kind of a whole wide bunch of things, some of which have actually been around since apparently at least the 90s, if not earlier. So it's like the concept of session 0 being considered a safety tool. Well, that sounds dumb to us, but the reality is that the concept of session 0 is not new to the 2024 D&D or 5e or anything like that. It's been around for a long, long, long time. We just didn't consider it a safety tool. We just considered it basic human decency. And also the way he progresses through the history of how this started becoming a thing in the first place, because like you guys say, the rest of us are just over here playing a tabletop fantasy game. None of this stuff ever came up or did come up or was a big deal until more and more weirdos started turning the tabletop game into their own personal like fantasies and started going way too far with it, essentially. So it's kind of one of those where I don't disparage the idea entire, because the idea entire consists of things like session 0. And yes, I believe in doing session 0. That's kind of a duh for me. But I also completely like the concept of the X card specifically. Well, yeah, that's silly. Also, see my original safety tools video that I made like a year ago.
Well, and I don't really even consider. I realize that session 0 gets lumped in because it's like, oh well, you can bring up all of the things that you want to do or that you want in the game, but it can also like which is fine. That's absolutely normal. But then it becomes one of those things where if you're using that as an impetus to say, no, we can't play with that, or no, we're not going to do that as a player. Well, it's like, okay, I'm coming in. Hey guys, I'd like to run Lair of the Spider Queen. Who wants in? Oh, well, I'll play, but can we do it without spiders? Really? That again, it's abusing that session 0. To me, session 0 is just, hey, we're gonna prep. We're gonna figure out what do we want to play. What kind of a class are you gonna be?
I think
lay it all out.
yeah, And I definitely encourage people to go watch said video by Atten because he obviously explains it way, way, way better than I possibly could. But
Mhm.
I think there's a, how am I trying to say it? It's like, why did safety tools become a thing in the first place if they weren't there before? You know, it sounds like, or
Social
at least
media.
is that basically that the game started to include crazier and crazier stuff. Like if I'm following the history that he was trying to explain, because obviously I wasn't there for it, but like the idea that at one point in time you didn't need to specify all of that because D&D didn't have, well, and I'm talking, of course, the like gratuitous sex and violence type stuff. The whole "I'm afraid of spiders" thing is a recent development. No, I don't really agree with that. If you're, you know, it's D&D. It's a fantasy game. It has spiders in it.
It's a weird example though, but it's also always the one that's used. It seems like whenever anybody writes about it, you know.
Well, it's there's okay, now my brain is going way off into the weeds. I'm having a hard time. Okay, so you know how like the joke's always made that like, oh, when I grew up in the day, we played with long darts, 50-pound lead darts, and we threw them up in the air and potentially caught them with our face, and we didn't whine about it, like that whole deal. It's
Yes.
like my generation and the generation after would definitely heavily like kind of babied a little bit too much. Like lots of like, oh, you can't watch that, that's not good enough for you, or you know, like child shouldn't see that or something. And it was like the original Diablo game that was so pixelated there was nothing to even be scared of on it in the first place. But I was like, and I was like 10 and I was watching my dad play Warcraft, but oh no, Diablo, that was going too far. You know, like the sort of mother henning that would happen to a lot of kids my age. You know, those kids grow up and now we get this situation where spiders aren't okay in a D&D game. Maybe I'm just spitballing there, but
Seraphis, what's your take?
Okay, I've got two examples here. So, kind of two things I'll bring up in this regard, but so my normal group is friends and family. I've basically known them for over
Way too
27
long.
years, almost 30 years, right? At minimum. I know for one of my players, one of my cousins, I would stay away from anything descriptive enough to evoke the traumatic scene to her from Watership Down, where the bunnies are being crushed to death inside the Warrens. She was traumatized by that, and I know not to like do anything ever that would evoke that for her. And that's fine, because like in the second Shadowrun game we did, her character got beaten the fuck up. This 14-year-old hacker got beaten the fuck up, and the rest of the team arrived in time before it got worse. I'm going to leave it at that phrasing. But she was like, oh, that was really cool. And it's like, yeah, because I know where her limits are, you know? She was okay with that kind of violence. And also, you know, it's a game. It's not actually happening to her. It's her character, you know? But for the longest time, at the same time, Grim wouldn't want to play. Actually, she still probably doesn't want to, but doesn't want to play Shadowrun because when I was telling her about one of the old modules that me and my friends did back in the day, it had sexual assault stuff in it, right? And that initial discussion like 7-8 years ago has made her never want to play Shadowrun because that's what she thinks the game is, even though that was a module and not and ironically one adventure module out of like a dozen that I was telling her about. So Grim doesn't want to play Shadowrun because of that, because that's what she thinks Shadowrun is.
Well, real quick, in her defense, I can see that, like, normally, like with like a D&D module, it's explore the dungeon, beat the lich, eradicate the zombies, that kind of stuff. And while technically those kinds of situations are possible in a fantasy game, it's just not something that you think about. Whereas Shadowrun being a modern theme and a modern setting, and actually now realizing, oh wait, all of those things that I do hear about that do happen in real life could happen in the game and could be like, I don't want to play that. Because it is a different tone.
Well, that kind of leads to what other Brian was saying about that different systems have tones to them. And if you know from the get-go, like I'm on Grimm's side, if I thought that that's all Shadowrun was, I wouldn't play it either, because that's something that anyways. But shoot, I was going to add something to that one, what first Brian was saying, and now I lost my train of thought. But
well, I mean, you wouldn't expect that kind of content to pop up in like My Little Pony, for example.
Right. Yeah. It makes a difference a little bit what setting you're in. If you're in the Shadowrun setting, regardless of system, if you're in that a cyberpunk setting, you might potentially encounter stuff like that. But also, to what Gauze was saying there about the X card, like there's the broad category of safety tools, and then there's the specific tool, the X card tool, right? Then there's the broad category of like just all the things, and then there's the specific concept of, oh, I'm afraid of spiders. I actually think that there is a legitimate side to safety tools, like you mentioned sexual assault. That would be in fact, I know 2 people personally that suffered and would not, be able to handle that trauma. But that's a different concept than like, I don't like spiders. Like, is it just me, or is there like 2 completely different levels to what we're talking about?
I think you're right that there are different levels. And that's why I was kind of making the point that for me, I don't care what table it is. I really don't want it to go above PG-13, even in a game like even in a game of vampire. Like I'm like
do you use like fade to black? Do you have like things that are in
that? Yes, but that I don't really consider a safety tool. That's just
no. But you said you don't keep it above PG-13, and I was wondering, do you mean what's role played at the table is PG-13, or do you mean all the content, like you don't even have fade to black type situations because it's that you keep it to that level?
No, like if it came up, no, like I'm like the like say the whole crap, I forget the name of the guys, but they did the old comedy sketch, cast the magic missile at the darkness, that whole thing. There's the one guy. Are there any girls there? If yes, I want to do them. Okay, make a roll. Cool, you're doing that. Go away. And that's all we're talking about. I'm not going to say that the situation doesn't happen, but yeah, it's just going to be a
Kay, fade to black.
We'll pick you up when you're done.
Yeah.
So
like that style of PG-13. Not that I mean, I totally agree with you. I think PG-13, but I was curious what you meant by that.
Right, but that's the thing. I mean, I think like at the end of the day, it comes down to being an adult? Can you quote unquote censor or change things, because of who's in your group? Sure, it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but is it necessary? Do we have to sit at the table and somebody's got, like the referee's red card and it's like, you're ejected from the game because you brought up spiders? It's like, oh, I didn't know that you had an issue with spiders. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like Brian said, it's a game. There's no actual spiders here. Just pretend and move on.
There's certainly a degree of people have gotten too what's the word? Like
sensitive.
Yeah. That just, I mean, there's legit things like assaults. There's legit things that you might want to stay away from. There's legit things that people might be traumatized by, or like Seraphis' example, there's legit situations where, hey, I tend to stay away from this particular or anything graphic here because my one player that I know, like there's a legit level to bringing that stuff down, but then like they took it way too far and now it's turned into this thing that's just seemingly just so ridiculous, the X card and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely part of it, is that and that's the other thing. I think in the normal day-to-day, I don't think the whole safety tools thing is a thing. I think it's absolutely more just an online thing that has kind of spiraled out of control.
Do you think it's more prominent or more not prominent? What's the word? Do you think that it's more, if you're playing with friends and family, or if you're playing with a well-established group, it seems silly AF. Like, I know these people, I don't need to worry about it. But if you're talking about a situation where you're like looking for group style, where you press a button and you end up in a chat room with 4 other people that are complete strangers, or you're in a game shop, do you think it's slightly more defensible at that point?
See, that's difficult for me to answer too, because I'd never do that.
Yeah,
but some people do.
Yeah, I'd be very reluctant to do that myself. But I think,
is it?
Well, I think to answer your question, I think it is something that
if it's not something that we do ourselves, but a situation that others do find themselves in, does it behoove us to criticize tools that they may use for a situation that we're just not in? Like, we don't need them. We don't use them. We don't, but we don't put ourselves in situations with random strangers. So, is it, is it silly of us to criticize tools that they may find more valuable in those situations just because, like, we I'm failing at words, but I think you get what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're trying to say, and I think a lot of it it's complicated because partly, like, the way the topic is presented, to me it just puts the hackles up. It's like, no, I'm not going to do this. But it's also one of those things where, like I said, my personal opinion, the game shouldn't be beyond PG-13 anyways.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's, and to be honest, that's my home game, or if I was playing at a convention or something. But also the way it's presented, sometimes it's just like, wait, why are you again, the example that's always used, the spiders. I don't like spiders, so I'm going to play the X card and you can't use spiders anymore. Why are we focused like that? Just sounds dumb and a waste of time. Like if somebody threw up an X card because, I really don't like that you're putting, a struggle or a snuggle struggle, in the, in the session. Okay, I probably wouldn't be opposed if somebody threw an X card for something like that. But that's not how it's presented.
Yeah. So do you think that it's being intentionally misrepresented to make people who feel the way we do angry and upset about it?
Yes.
I think there's a degree of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in real life oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that some people are out there for the sensationalistic approach of it, for a hey, look at me. I mean, I think legitimately there is content that does pop up in some games that some people are just so out of tune with that they don't realize that the content is offensive. And I think that there is legitimate cause in some instances, but in other instances, I really do believe that some of it is simply there for sensationalistic attention.
Yeah, and I think especially because of how tied in it is to all of like the cultural pushback between,
right,
for lack of a better way to put this at the moment, the cultural pushback between political parties, I think is why we keep seeing a lot of it presented. So, at the end of the day, I'm fine with just saying, be a grown-up, act like a grown-up, realize that sometimes you're going to have things that you don't like, but just be a grown-up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, my original safety tool stick figure video way back when kind of summarized to or came to that same conclusion of like, just keep it PG-13. Why are we even having this conversation? And how much a very simple preliminary session 0 can go a long way. Like just it, like I tell players who want to play with me right off the gate, like, this is my DM style. This is how I tend to run things. If you don't like that, maybe we're not the table for you, because my DM style and the way I like to run my games would be arguably very, very boring to most, people who've been playing a long time, or min-maxers, or there's a certain style of my gameplay that's goofy, that's very Saturday morning cartoon, and some people find that legit like boring, and they don't want to play that way.
I'm already bored, trust me. No, I was kidding. Sorry, Tori, I couldn't help it.
That's fair. I walked into that one. Yeah, no, I genuinely wonder though. I hadn't thought of that until you said that one thing that like made me think of it. But how much of this is real? Like, how many games are people legitimately stopping the whole game and throwing down their X card and going, I don't like spiders, creepy crawlies? Like the way it's being presented, how realistic is that? Or how much of that is just angry people who don't like the idea of the X card taking it to an illogical conclusion on purpose to make it look bad and missing the point of the thing? How I'm genuinely wondering how much that might be a thing.
More than it should be, but less than we actually think. Which is
I like
not
that answer.
Non-answer, but still.
No, I like that answer because it's probably very accurate.
I feel like a lot of it is probably more a vocal minority over a majority.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, I know that like there are conventions that say we're going to be using this, and if you as a game master aren't willing to participate in this, then you're not going to run games at our convention. That's a thing as well.
And if that, with that being the case, situations where people are strangers, convention games where the rules are a little bit more enforced or like with those types of situations, if those tools make sense for those types of situations, then who are we to disparage them just because we happen to not be in those situations? Like we can just ignore it. We can just not use safety tools at our table. We don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go on the record and say, listen, if the three people here, Tori, George, and it's not the size that counts, decides that they all want to run a game and they feel that X cards are good in those games, fine. I have no issues with it. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
He called me George. The only other person to do that is my mother. And that's a true story, but that's for another time. Yeah. No, yeah, see it. I don't know. It's one of those things where like I said, to me, like it's the forced nature that gets the hackles up. You've got to do this.
Right. Yeah.
Like even at a convention, if they were saying, nope, you have to run this or you can't run games at the convention. Nope, I'm out. Now, do I think it's interesting where or not necessarily interesting, but like quote unquote acceptable, like if a game master comes in and says, okay, we're running this game. It's vampire. We're running vampire. And you know what? I want to run this thing a little harder. But I understand some of you may not be comfortable with it. So we're going to use the X card this game. If I start getting a little overboard, let me know. I'll try and tone it down. Okay?
Yeah,
I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I think it should always be voluntary and never forced on a game master to use.
So today's session, we're going to play Debbie Does Dallas, the role-playing game.
Cool. I'm not even sitting down at the table.
Well, that's a good thing, probably. You don't know where that table has been.
I'm gonna go over to the disinfected part of the
There isn't
the gaming hall. Have you run a black light over this place?
Oh my gosh. We did that the other day. Steve got a new flashlight that has a black light on it. And we went in the game room because our cat, before we started putting her on the steroids, she had a bad habit of throwing up everywhere. And you like normal light, you can't even tell. Like we clean it up. We use bleach. We always try to clean it up as soon as she makes a mess. Well, I was like, you have a black light on that? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, let's just go see. And we came in and looked, and you can see every single mess she's ever made over the last 2 years with that black light.
I just thought it was clean.
I just thought it was clean.
Ew, dirty.
Well, animals, pets. Well, I can't help it. I love my pet, though.
I will say that for my own games, I would say that I keep mine at what we would call a 18 plus, but that's because I have a very descriptive way of describing things, describing the environment, describing the actions, that you will get that kind of graphical or gross nature in a description of someone being killed, or like just how icky that elder god is or something like that. So, but I don't really do sex scenes and things like that.
Yeah, see, that's the weird thing for me. Like, I keep saying PG-13, but that cuts out like a lot of violence. But I can handle a lot of violence. But I'm kind of prudish by nature, for obvious reasons. And so, like, just
CIA asset.
Yep, probably. But just can leave all of that out there, or out of there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that's why I found the historical element that Atten brings up very interesting, because there's a point in time where it wasn't there and then it got introduced. And his story about that I found really educational because I had no idea.
We've
Anyways.
kind of gone off the subject of the weird West Australia thing, so I put the whoopty fick and do.
I was going to say, so
Whoopty-fick-and-do.
getting back to weird Wild West Australia.
Yeah. That's
there's
the
no
F
point.
of your Artificer. So that's the F. How is it you say Artificer? Is that how you say it?
Artificer.
Artificer. To say it exactly the
I'm
way
not British.
I don't know, okay? I can't mimic it quite right.
She got close.
I'm only going by sounds.
Artificer.
Artificer.
Artificer. But there we go.
I
It's
can't
starting
even
to
argue
take
with
shape.
that because I do have Middle Eastern blood in me. So,
Anyways.
I'll be honest. I'm actually kind of excited for Weird Wild West Australia.
Who all are you inviting to play in that? Like, is this taking shape? Is this becoming
Not
a real
you,
thing?
Tori. Not
Oh,
you.
okay.
No,
Okay.
and by
I'm
that
busy
he,
enough.
and by that he means you are invited. He is not.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'd be willing to try. It's not my genre, but I would definitely be willing to try. Also, I am genuinely curious about Cypher System because it was the first system that caught my eye away from 5e until DC20 came along. In fact, if DC20 hadn't come along, I may have eventually wound up there anyways. So I'm genuinely curious to kind of see it in action.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I mean, you can watch. I don't know whether we'll stream it or not, or just run it through a Discord conference call, whatever.
Yeah, I just use Discord and Owlbear. That's all I use. It's free.
Yeah.
It's simple. It works. It works.
But I think one aspect that I'm definitely going to focus on is try to encapsulate that one aspect of, well, our little iconic bushranger, and have it so that the players get access to heavy armor from the beginning.
Okay. So he's going to try and kill us, and we're going out to the middle of nowhere.
No. Have you ever heard of Ned Kelly?
No.
Okay. So late 1800s, early 1900s. I can't remember exactly. So, around the time of your cowboys and stuff, right?
Which is what we were going for.
Yep. And here's a dude who, in that time period, with those kind of weapons, because they were here too, goes, getting shot by a gun really hurts. But those medieval people, they had a good idea with, plate armor. So I'm going to make plate armor. So he did.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a guy who's basically robbing banks and being invulnerable while doing it because the police can't do shit.
Would that era of weaponry really not be able to penetrate plate armor?
Not when he's using cast iron. That's about yay thick.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about armor, Tori, is that essentially firearms is what ended quote unquote knights. Yeah, the traditional knights in armor. Because suddenly these peasants with a tube and a rock, are eliminating knights from range.
Yeah.
So if you actually look, so that would have been what, 1600s or so that probably started like really gaining traction. But then, yeah, it's not till the late 1800s that they start trying to decide, okay, how do we do this? But even then, it was very difficult. It's giant, thick cast iron plates, and so then they've now tried to figure out, okay, what can we do? Are there ways to do it? But yeah, that's why most soldiers went, it's just quote unquote, t-shirt and jeans, because, like if like any actual armor was too heavy to really do anything with anyways. So at least for any extended period of time.
So trying to picture wearing cast iron as armor is just like...
Oh, there's pictures
Marty
of him.
McFly did it.
That's true. Cast iron skillet under the shirt.
Yeah. And there's pictures of Ned Kelly. You can see him in his armor. The armor is still in the Melbourne Museum, I believe it is, or Victorian Museum of Victoria. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, like bucket head and everything. Like, yeah. Also, dude had a
Bush Ranger. I wasn't expecting those to be outlaws.
Oh yeah, no. Bushranger, absolutely. That there were our outlaws.
Yeah, see, like usually when you hear Rangers around here, those are like, scouts or
or like a type of special forces, basically.
Or like special, like there's the Arizona Rangers. It's like a literal like special police force kind of a thing in Arizona.
Or park rangers in my case.
Right, our park rangers.
He had a good beard.
He did.
All right, I gotta look up at the screen now. One sec.
Hold on. Let me try again.
Yeah, when he said bush rangers, I was kind of thinking of something along the lines of Mounties.
That's actually kind of awesome. It's got a dent in there. Is that from a shot I'm at, maybe?
Yes, they were from, I believe it was like 50 cal rounds that they had to borrow from a hunter in the area. And yes, those are multiple impacts.
Doesn't look like it went all the way through. It looks like it just dented it.
It did.
Oh, that'd be so
It
uncomfortable.
only dented it. I believe the police report said that he had been shot 182 times or something, and only actually been hit about 12. So only actually had about 12 bullet wounds.
Wikipedia says that the helmet, breastplate, backplate, and shoulder plates show 18 bullet marks. So I would say at least 18.
It's kind of wild.
Oh yeah, those are from the heavy rifle shots. Yeah, there was like somewhere between 40 and 60 police involved in the final shootout or something. Trying to remember all the details. It's been a while since I watched a documentary.
You see that? Like, I look at that picture and, Tombstone is not what's playing in my head when I look at that picture. Like, the setting mismatch is just so dissonant.
Oh yeah, but it totally was.
I do want to visit Tombstone someday.
It's okay.
That would be fun. There's so many rumors about the Birdcage Theater being uber haunted. That'd be fun.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. On the Wikipedia page, it says that the gang were admired in military circles, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle commented on the gang's imagination and recommended similar armor for use by British infantry.
Right, but I mean, like you read it, so again, it's an interesting concept.
Hmm.
Because so under last stand and capture, seriously wounded, Kelly lay in the bush for most of the night. At dawn, clad in armor and armed with 3 handguns, he rose out of the bush and attacked the police from their rear. Police returned fire as Kelly moved from tree to tree towards the hotel, at times staggering from his injuries, the weight of his armor, and the impact of bullets on the plate iron, which he later described as like blows from a man's fist. Due to these factors, Kelly had difficulty aiming, firing, and reloading his guns. So yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, but you've got to remember
that effective.
You've got to remember too. This is like what 4 dudes who were cattle workers who forged this out of like melting down fence post material and making it themselves. This isn't like, you know,
a black.
Oh yeah.
The British Corps of Engineers making it.
Well, but that's why when like during World War I, that's when you started to see like actual helmets as opposed to like just like the little, like straw pith helmets, that kind of stuff. It has absolutely evolved. Even Goss just said, the problem always remained that it was too heavy. Even nowadays, it's like, like an average soldier. Yes, they have, an armor carrier and whatnot, and it's just more and more weight that you're putting on, on a soldier of some kind. So, anyhow, regardless, it's like already I'm learning more about Australia, and
Great.
Weird Wild West Australia is going to be interesting.
It will be. I'm like excited.
Not that
now.
I get to play. No, just kidding.
There's gonna be an overlay with a window with rain pouring down it, and we're gonna put that over the top of your camera so that you can be looking in from the window out in the rain.
That would be funny.
Oh, you know what? I could almost do that, but I have to buy the. I'd have to actually buy Restream to do that. Oh, that sucks. Otherwise, I could replace your picture with your camera with a picture of rain.
No. She's saying you have to do an overlay on top of the camera.
So yeah, we still have to see him. Yeah.
But then it looks like I'm being kept outside in the rain.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm out of coffee again already.
Well, we are coming up on 2 hours, so we should probably think about starting this.
I might. I don't know if I'm going to keep working on this or keep working on the other one, but I'm probably going to move into the living room, and I'm probably going to end up watching Lord of the Rings cast commentaries all day long. That should keep me entertained for 7 hours. Oh, dude, the cast commentaries are so good, though. I really like listening to them.
I do like listening to commentaries as well.
Oh, I love it because particularly the cast. Any of the DVDs that I have where it's the cast, they tend to tell a lot more like jokes and funny stories and, oh, you remember that one time we were doing this and blah blah blah. So not only do you get a little bit of insights on the movie, but you mostly just get funny stories. And it's very, when you're stitching like this, it's perfect because it's very podcasty. Because you're listening more than you're watching, so it's perfect. But hey,
the commentary from the cast on the Babylon 5 DVDs was pretty funny as well. Very similar to that.
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. And I mean, when you need a series to last you 7 to 9 hours, you pick up either a Harry Potter binge or a Lord of the Rings binge. That's just what one does.
Or you get into anime and you pick up one of those shonen animes and start from the beginning.
I can't do anime as much anymore. I used to like anime a lot more when I was a teenager, but it's just not my thing anymore.
I'm noticing way too many.
What was that?
Oh, it was Tony being weird. Okay, you're distracting me.
I'm trying to figure out what that actually is.
He's putting something on his microphone stand, and it's being picked up.
But what is
it
the
making
something?
Sound?
Yeah, it's making sound. We can hear it.
Sorry.
Oh, I couldn't. But like, what actually was that? Like, I want to know.
Oh, all this. It's one of those things where you put a camera. It's a camera tripod.
Oh,
and you just
okay.
screw
Now
the
I
camera
follow
onto
you.
it right there, and then you can
Wrap it around
attach
stuff
it onto and wrap it around.
Yeah. It's like
I didn't
like
realize
it's
it
got-
was making noise through there though.
Oh,
That's what gave
I've got
it away.
the one with the little jointed legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is getting about that time, isn't it? There, I'll put my little turtle on here. There, Toidle.
Well, I'd recommend we start this thing, but I feel like we're getting less and less progress done. Yeah, kind of like that.
I mean, it's definitely time to stop.
George, do you have anything you'd like to say?